Good day everyone, welcome again to another episode of Tax Training, and today I will discuss to you the monthly remittance form of final income taxes withheld, or the BIR form 0619F, which has been enhanced on January 2018. Bakit siya in-enhance noong January 2018? Ito yung effectivity ng train law natin, no? Okay, so for this 0619F, the monthly remittance form of final income taxes withheld, you have to enter all required information in capital letters. No? So makita natin naka-box itong space para sa paglagay natin ng pangalan. No? So enter all required information in capital letters using black ink. Black ink ang gamitin, hindi pwede ibang kulay. Mark all applicable boxes with an X. 2 copies must be filled with the BIR and 1 held by the taxpayer. No? 2 copies must be filed with the BIR and 1 held by the taxpayer. So let's continue. No? So for line number 1, for the month and the year. No? Due date, the end of the period, no, na dapat bayaran. So due date, halimbawa, December 31, 2020. So, ilagay po natin dyan, December 31, 2020. No? So, dito sa line number 1, nakalagay dyan, for the month of, wala na siyang specific day na nilagay. Why? Kasi for the month of. So, understood dyan, ending yan, no, katapusan. Number 3, amended form, yes or no. Kailan ba siya amended? Pagka meron na tayo na i-file na original return, and then we want to adjust, we want to correct yung ating originally filed na income tax form or any tax form, no? So we want to amend it because we want to correct. So if amended na siya because you already have the original form filed, lagyan nyo dyan yes, no? If not, lagay po ninyo no. Any taxes withheld, yes or no? Kung meron, yes. Kung wala, then no. Tax type code, no? For the tax type code, yun yung binasa ko kanina sa inyo doon sa 0605, no? Nandoon yung tax type code. Part 1, the background information. Line number 6, taxpayer identification number or TIN. So, kung mapapansin niyo, since ito ay enhanced ng 2018, the form, so yung column for the branch code, yung dulo ng TIN is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, no? So, 5 na yung spaces, no? 5 letters na. RDO code, kunin nyo po ito doon sa certificate of registration nyo. Withholding agent's name, no? So last name, middle name for individual, or registered name for non-individual. Registered address, indicate complete address, no? If branch, indicate the branch address. If registered address is different from the current address, go to the RDO to update registered address by using BIR form 1905, no? 1905. So contact number, no? Zip code. Category of withholding can be private or government. So if you are a government agency, then i-check ninyo yung box na government, and if private, then check ninyo yung box na private, and then the email address. This email address is usually mandatory, no? At saka ano yung advice ko dito sa email address, gumawa kayo ng email address na nakabukod na talaga yung para sa filing, no? Para hindi kayo mahirapan maghanap pag kailangan na. Part 2, tax remittance, no? Number 13, line number 13, WMF 10. Remittance of final income tax withheld on interest paid on deposits and yield on deposit substitutes or trust and others, no? Number 14, the ATC is WMF 20, remittance of final withholding tax, final income taxes withheld on other final income taxes, or the amount of remittance. Total sum of items 13 and 14 less amount remitted from previously filed form if this is an amended return. And then the amount of remittance, item 15 less item 16. Add penalties. So ano yung mga penalties natin? Pag na-late tayo, 3 na kaagad, no? We have the surcharge, the interest, and then the compromise. And then the total penalties. Line number 19, total amount of remittance, no? Sum of item 17 and 18D. And this is signed under the penalties of perjury, no? For individual and for non-individual. Okay, so for individual, signature over printed name of taxpayer or authorized representative or tax agent, no? Indicate the title, designation, and the TIN. Signature over printed name of vice president, authorized officer of representative, tax agent, indicate title, designation, and the TIN or the tax identification number. So, date issue, date of expiry, and then the tax agent accreditation number or attorney's roll number. Part 3 is for the details of payment. You have to fill up the drawing of bank agency, and then the number, the date, and then the amount. Payments can be through cash or bank debit memo or through check or tax debit memo and others. So machine validation, revenue official receipt details if not filled with an authorized agent bank. And then we have the stamp of receiving office, AAB, and date of receipt. So Argus signature, bank teller's initial. So we are discussing BIR form 0619F, no? F meaning final income tax withheld. So what is the guidelines in the filling up of this BIR form number 069F dated January 2018? Okay, so who shall file this 06919F? 0619F. Sino magpa-file? This withholding tax remittance form shall be filed in triplicate by every withholding agent or payer required to deduct and withhold taxes on income payment subject to final withholding tax. If the person required to withhold and remit the tax is a corporation, the form shall be made in the name of the corporation and shall be signed and verified by the President, Vice President, or any authorized officer. If the government of the Philippines or any of its agencies, political subdivisions or instrumentalities, or a government-owned or controlled corporation is the withholding agent payer, the form shall be accomplished and signed by the officer or employee having control of disbursement of income payment or other officer or employee appropriately designated for the purpose. No, napakabigat ng provisions na to. Why? Kasi kung sino yung in charge, siya magbabayad ng penalty ng withholding. With respect to a fiduciary, the form shall be made in the name of the individual, estate, or trust for which such fiduciary acts and shall be signed and verified by such fiduciary. So in case of 2 or more joint fiduciaries, the form shall be signed and verified by one of such fiduciaries. Authorized representative and accredited tax agent filing in behalf of the taxpayer shall also use this form to remit the final taxes withheld. Kaya nga ang tawag dito 0619F, no? Final income tax withheld. When and where to file this form, no? And then remit. The withholding tax remittance form shall be filed and the tax remitted on or before the 10th day following the month in which withholding was made. So this shall be filed for the first 2 months of its calendar quarter. So provided, however, that with respect to non-large and large taxpayers who shall file through the electronic filing and payment system or the AFPS, the deadline for electronically filing the form and remitting the taxes due thereon shall be in accordance with the provision of existing applicable revenue issuances. The form shall be filed and the tax remitted with the authorized agent bank or AAB of the revenue district officer having jurisdiction over the withholding agent's place of business or office. In places where there are no AABs, the form shall be filed and the tax remitted with the Revenue Collection Officer of the RDO having jurisdiction over the withholding agent's place of business or office, who will issue an electronic revenue official receipt. Therefore, when the form is filed with an AAB, taxpayer must accomplish and submit BIR prescribed deposit slip, which the bank teller shall machine validate as evidence that remittance was received by the AAB. The AAB receiving the tax form shall stamp mark the word received on the form and also machine validate the form as proof of filing and remittance of the tax by the taxpayer. The machine validation shall reflect the date of remittance among remitted and transactions code, the name of the bank, branch code, teller's code, and teller's initial. But debit memo number and date should be indicated in the form for taxpayers remitting under the bank debit system. No? A taxpayer may file a separate form for the head office and for its branch or place of business, or a consolidated form for the head office and all the branches offices. So in the case of large taxpayers, only one consolidated form is required, no? Para sa large taxpayer. Penalties. There shall be imposed and collected as part of the tax a surcharge of 25% for the following violations: failure to pay any form and pay or remit the amount of tax installments due on or before the due date, or filing a form with a person or office other than those with whom it is required to be filed unless otherwise authorized by the Commissioner, or failure to pay or remit the full or part of the amount of the tax shown in the form, or the full amount of the tax due for which no form is required to be filed on or before the due date, or failure to pay or remit the deficiency tax within the time period for each payment, remittance in the notice of assessment. Number 2, a surcharge of 50% of the tax of the deficiency tax in the discovery of the falsity or fraud for each of the following violations: willful neglect to file the form within the period prescribed by the National Internal Revenue Code or the NIRC as amended or by rules and regulations, or a false or fraudulent form is willfully made. Number 3, interest at the rate of double the legal interest rate for loans or forbearance of any money in the absence of an express stipulation as set by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas from the date prescribed for payment remittance under the amount is fully paid or remitted, provided that in no case shall the deficiency as the delinquency interest prescribed under 249 subsection B and C of the NIRC as amended be imposed immediately. Compromise penalty as provided under applicable rules and regulations. No? Violation of withholding tax provisions. Any person required to withhold account for and remit any tax imposed by the National Internal Revenue Code or NIRC as amended, or who willfully fails to withhold such tax or account for and remit such tax, or aids or abets in any manner to evade any such tax or the payment thereof, shall be, in addition to other penalties provided for under the law, be liable upon conviction as a penalty equal to the total amount of the tax not withheld or not accounted for and remitted. Any person required under the NIRC as amended or by rules and regulations promulgated hereunder to pay any tax, make a form, keep any record, or supply correct and accurate information who willfully fails to pay such tax, make such form, keep such record, or supply and correct and accurate information, or withhold or remit taxes withheld or refund excess taxes withheld on compensation at the time required by law or rules and regulations, shall, in addition to the other penalties provided by law upon conviction thereof, be punished by a fine of not less than 10,000 and suffer imprisonment of not less than 1 year but not more than 10 years. No? So every officer or employee of the government of the Republic of the Philippines or any of its agencies and instrumentalities, its political subdivisions, as well as government-owned or controlled corporations, including the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, who under the provision of the NIRC as amended or regulations promulgated thereunder is charged with the duty to defraud and withhold any internal revenue tax and to remit the same in accordance with the provisions of the NIRC as amended and other laws, is guilty of any offense herein below specified, shall upon conviction of its act or omissions be fined in a sum of not less than 5,000 pesos but not more than 50,000 or imprisonment for a term of not less than 6 months and 1 day but not more than 2 years or both. No? Letter A, those who fail or cause the failure to deduct and withhold any internal revenue tax under any of the withholding tax laws and implementing rules and regulations. Those who fail or cause the failure to remit taxes deducted and withheld within the time prescribed by law and implementing rules and regulations, and those who fail or cause the failure to file a form or statement within the time prescribed or render or furnish a false or fraudulent form of statement required under the withholding tax laws and rules and regulations. If the withholding agent is the government or any of its agencies, political subdivisions or instrumentalities, or a government-owned or controlled corporation, the employee thereof responsible for the withholding and remittance of tax shall be personally liable for the additions to the tax prescribed by NIRC as amended. No? Note, all background information must be properly filled out. Box number 1 refers to transactions, a transaction period and not the date of filing this form. No? Tax types, code to be used, WB if the ETC to be issued is WMF10, no? WF if WMF20. The last 5 digits of the 14-digit TIN refers to the branch code. All forms filed by an accredited tax agent on behalf of a taxpayer shall bear the following information. Individual CPA members of general professional partnerships and others. Taxpayer identification number, BIR accreditation number, date of issue, and date of delivery. For members of the Philippine Bar or lawyers, taxpayer identification number, attorney's roll number, mandatory continuing legal education MCLE compliance number, and BIR accreditation number, date of issue, and date of expiry. No? So yun yung monthly remittance form natin 0619F.